try to make some points. And hopefully you guys have an open mind, we'll make it work. Again, I'd like for you not to, if you have to, you got to, I understand. But don't write anything down at first, just listen. Just listen to my analogies, listen to my silly stories, and because it's more about understanding the concept of what I'm trying to tell you than it is about writing down some key verbiage or listings and that kind of stuff. So just listen. Feel free to record. It's all good. Okay? Muscles are great. Skeletal muscles are great, but nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect. There are limitations. It's kind of like with teams, sports teams, or let's say pro teams, where certain teams have strengths and then there's weaknesses, and not every team is perfect. But if you have limitations of your weaknesses, you'll win more games than what you lose. Our skeletal muscles are solid and they do a lot of great things, but they have limitations. They have some weaknesses, and that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. So muscles can only pull. They can only pull. And when you have concepts that can only pull, that creates some potential limitations. So if we had, the question is, if we had, oh my God, is that my phone? Jason, Alvin, you got time for that? All right. So if we had a contest where we said as many jumping jacks as you can in 10 seconds, and we had this dude on the right and the lady on the left, okay? The guy on the right looks like he's been to the shrimp festival till about 2 o'clock in the morning, still wired up, ready to go till the sun comes up. And the lady on the left, she's the lady on the left. So if we had a contest right now, keep in mind, lady on the left is fully equipped with muscles that pull in every direction of motion. Puppet only has things that pull in one direction of motion. Does that make sense? So if we had a contest, do as many as you can and go. Who's going to win? Why? Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's great about that? That should be an observation that you should be like, well, yeah, the puppet, the puppeteer can make the puppet's arms go up fast, right? But that puppet's arms cannot come down any faster than gravity. Meaning that even if the puppeteer just let the strings fall, the puppet's arms can only go as fast as what gravity can offer. The strings can't push his arms down. That's a Muppet. You know what Muppets are? Muppets move with sticks, and the sticks can push and pull, right? These are strings. These are pull forces. So that's key, that the Muppet cannot move down faster than what gravity can offer. The strings can only allow it to go slower. Yes? She has strings that pull down. So her strings and gravity can work on the same team to bring her hands down, bring her arms down faster than what gravity can offer. So the example I have practically is this piece of tape that it's going to be served as a string. And if I was the puppet, I can make my arm go up. I can let it go down slower than what gravity can offer, but I can't push it down faster than what gravity can offer. The fastest I can extend my shoulder with something only pulling up is gravity itself. And in the case of the jumping jack, the only way I can go, the fastest I can make my arm go down is what gravity can offer. What I need to have something that can pull down, right? And that's what our muscles offer. Our muscles offer puppet strings in the direction of down that typical puppet strings do not have. So we have the potential, we can move faster than what gravity can offer. Puppets can't. Okay? So let's apply our concepts from Wednesday to these new concepts here. We're going to make some assumptions. We're going to make some inferences. We don't assume, we infer. Infer means you have all the information you need to make the assumption. Let's infer that she at no time contacts her hands with anything, meaning that her hands don't clap at the top and her hands don't smack at the bottom. We're We're gonna make that as a given. She's doing as many jumping jacks as she can, and she is neither clapping at the top nor smacking at the bottom. Now, in this case, you ask yourself, all right, external force, what's it trying to do? It's trying to adduct you, right, the whole time. But there's a functional task at hand. She's trying to do as many as she can in 10 seconds. Do as many as you can. Think about how rare that task is. Like, even if you do fitness all the time, how often do you do something like this in your activities of daily living, right? It's a very small fraction of your overall day. The analogy that I give in the greatest sprinter of all time, Usain Bolt, like, that's his job. His job is to be fast. This dude moves faster than gravity, probably more than 99% of people, but yet part of his day going faster than gravity is very small. How often does he actually spend percentage of his 24 hours sprinting, going as fast as he can? So again, these are rare cases. But let's observe. Because she's here, she starts in this position, and she wants to adduct her shoulders. And you say, well, gravity is trying to adduct her, so she must be using her abductors. Well, the abductors can only allow adduction so fast. In fact, I know that if my abductors were responsible for the adduction through eccentric work, there's a clue that can eliminate me knowing that they're working, and that's it has to be going slower than what gravity can offer. This is the adduction just because of gravity's influence. So the only way her abductors would be responsible for that adduction is if she was going slower than that. Does that make sense? So in other words, the speed of her adduction eliminates the abductors being responsible for it. This is the speed that gravity can offer. So if she's going faster than that, it makes sense that she has to pull with puppet strings in the same direction as gravity. Okay? So if she's trying to adduct faster than what gravity can offer, she has to use adductors through concentric work, shortening while trying to shorten, working with gravity. But when you have muscles working concentrically with the force of gravity, it should make sense that it's going to go pretty fast. Again, that's two teams pulling on one tug of war rope with no team pulling on the other side. That rope's going to fly across the room. So, speeding up the adduction in this example, doing as many as you can. Adductors, the group of muscles that pull in the direction of adduction. Who are those muscles? Who cares for them? We just know that I have muscles that pull that way. The adductors, the muscles that pull in the direction of adduction, doing a job, doing a task, working above resting tone, in this case, shortening while trying to shorten, doing what they're trying to do, working concentrically to speed up that adduction with gravity. What speeds up must slow down. If she smacked her hand against her side, well then the collision of her side could slow down the adduction and she wouldn't need any muscles. Let me give you the crazy analogy. That's like if we're doing test crashes. I'm not going to say real world crashes because that's not very sensitive. But if we're doing test crashes, right, to test airbags and stuff, if you're speeding up and then you plow into the wall, your brakes didn't slow you down, and the wall slowed you down. It's very similar. Crash. Her muscles didn't need to put on the brakes. She had a collision that put on the brakes. But if she didn't smack, if she did and she put on the brakes, you have to be able to see whose brakes, which group of muscles put on the brakes to slow down her adduction. Remember, guys, everything takes time. So when she's adducting, even though your eyes, which can only process so many frames per second, thinks that this happens instantaneously, it doesn't. When I start to put on the brake, I still have adduction while I slow down. Just like when you slam on your brakes, you still go forward as you slow down. So speeding up the adduction, adductors, concentric work, vroom, vroom, zoom, zoom, bolt. But when it comes time to slowing it down, putting on the brake, the same things that pulled her down can't push her to a stop. There's no Muppet world here. We don't have sticks that can push and pull. So logically, the little hamsters in your head should be like, oh, well, if the adductors can't push me to a stop, who can pull me to a stop? The abductors, right? And it reads like a sentence. The abductors can slow down adduction through eccentric work. Absolutely. Okay? So, slowing down the adduction in this case, abductors, slowing down, putting on the brake of adduction, but only through eccentric work. Once she slows down the adduction, those abductors are going to continue to do a job above resting tone, changing her direction and then speeding up the abduction. The only way the abductors can speed up the abduction is through concentric work. Do you see the pattern here? The abductors can't push her up. They got limitations of things that pull. So abductors are going to speed up her adduction. Now, she could say, well, gravity could slow down. Once it's traveling up, gravity could slow me down. You know, hey, gravity slowed down this paper towel as it came up and sped me up as it come down. But again, gravity from planet Earth is very limited. It can only offer so much. Watch the rate of slowdown from just gravity. Right? So in other words, if she wants to slow down that abduction faster, quicker, in less time than what gravity can offer, she's got to make a call to a group of muscles to do a job. The same muscles that sped up her abduction can't push her to a stop. They can't push down. So she's going to turn off the call. She's going to hang up on the abductors and say, you know what I need right now to do a job? I need the muscles that pull down to slow down my abduction. With gravity. Working with gravity. But gravity plus my adductors pulling down can slow down my abduction faster than gravity alone. And then the same muscles that are pulling down can slow down my ab through what type of work? Eccentrics. How do you know? Because it reads like a sentence. It's physics. Adductors put on the brakes of abduction through eccentric work. That's how it has to happen. Those muscles, though, are going to still get a call to do a job. They're going to keep working. They're going to keep working because not only do they have to slow down the up, but they got to change the direction and speed up the down. So they stay working, but the variations in the motion you observe, slowing down the up, speeding up the down, is the variations in the contraction time. It's the variations in the work, the physiological work. Same muscles, same call, different work for different tasks. Slowing down the ab, followed by speeding up the ad. Eccentric, followed by concentric, where the muscles are working greater than something else. There is a specific sequence for that. That's called plyometrics. The plyometric sequence. So now we can look at this jumping jack exercise. Again, we're inferring there's no smacking up here, there's no smacking up there. But if she's going as fast as she can, there's two sets of plyometric sequences. There's two plyometric sequences happening. The adductors are doing their sequence at the top, slowing down the ab through eccentric, immediately followed by speeding up the ad with concentric. That was the adductor's plyometric sequence of eccentric followed by concentric when the muscles have to be the dominant force. Okay? Down, sign the roll sheet, bud. The plyometric sequence of the abductors, or the bottom part, slowing down the ad through eccentric immediately by speeding up the ad through concentric. How cold was that water?
Really cold. Did y'all, was it just like the Nestea plunge? I just jumped in or out? Y'all had to actually like swim a while.
No, we stayed there for like 30 to 40 minutes.
Is your personal trainer a penguin? By any chance? All right, guys, are there any questions about why, in doing as many jumping jacks as you can, with no collision at the top, no collision at the bottom, again, if you collide at the top, then my right hand slowed down the abduction on my left, and the left hand slowed down the abduction on the right. I didn't need muscles to do it if I had collisions. But the point of my analogy is to show you how muscles can put on the brake and then turn on the gas. Okay? So is there any questions about why, when she's doing as many jumping jacks as she can, looking at it from the perspective of the muscles influencing the shoulder, why adductors would slow down ab and then speed up ad, and then the adductors would slow down ad and speed up ab. I'm doing it in slow motion, okay? So we have to infer that she's doing it as fast as I can. We watch in slow motion, it's gonna look like this. Everybody understand that? I'll do it one more time. I don't know if my voice can take a third. Sound effects are free, guys. Oh, yeah. It's like getting a free toy at McDonald's. You get the Happy Meal. No questions at all. We're good? Hey, you want to try some more practical examples? All right. How many of you are, look, we all have different fears. My wife and snakes do not get along. She's okay with spiders. Some people, spiders, they don't get along, okay? So let's use spiders, for example. Is there anybody who's like, I don't like spiders? Okay, cool. We're fishing in the same pond. I don't particularly care for them myself. Let's pretend a spider is crossing the floor. No offense, Mr. Spider. I know you have purpose in life, but that purpose is about to be ended. So I go to step on the spider. This is just pretend. It's mythical. There's no spider's harm in this demonstration. Spider's walking across the floor, right? I'm doing the whole Julius Caesar, you know. You have been measured and weighed and you have found guilty. So I'm going to smash the spider, right? If there's a spider on the floor, I'm not going to leave its life up to gravity. What I mean by that is I'm not going to be doing this and be like, right? Does that make sense? Like when you're trying to like get in, you just like, and you just want to, you want to have a lot of kinetic energy to smush it. Same thing with mosquitoes, right? Mosquitoes on your leg, you're not going to be like, ow, you little. And you're definitely not going to use the muscles that pull up to allow, because then you're like, oh, you son of a. Does that make sense? You're going to use muscles that pull in the same direction. So here's the silly analogy. Spider, it's about to be gone, so. But at the last second, right? So your foot, which is a representative of the joints that are moving it, is coming down faster than gravity. We all agree with that? But at the last possible second, my son comes in and says, no! Like, it's for like a science experiment or a science fair thing, right? It like got out of his little house. So he's like, Daddy, no! And I'm like, yeah! And like, the spider is just like. So the point is, I go fast, but I gotta put on the brake before I have schmush. Does that make sense? So 2 tasks. Now, we analyze motion joint by joint, we analyze muscles joint by joint. I want you to analyze the muscles at my hip. You're not going to use terms like your rectus femoris. What about your iliopsoas? What about your pectineus? What about, there's a lot of different muscles there. So for the purposes of understanding who's getting a call to do a job, we're just going to say hip flexors, hip extensors. I think we can eliminate the ab and adductors for this question, right? And we can eliminate the internal external rotators. We're talking about hip flexors and hip extensors, sagittal plane stuff, right? So that's your question. Bringing it up, it's hip flexion, right? What speeds up must slow down. Speeding up the hip flexion, slowing down the hip flexion, speeding up the hip extension, and then slowing down the hip extension. I did it slow so that you could see what happens. That's just like playing it in slow motion. But the reality is it was fast. You want me to do it as fast as I can? Do you want to see it again? So, can you tell I have small children? They hate my dad jokes too. And then right before he's like, no, don't get it, I want to play with it or so. Hips perspective, speeding up the flexion, slowing down the flexion, speeding up the extension, slowing down the extension. Who did it and how? So the game of kinesiology clue is identifying who got the phone call to do a job and how did they do it. Ready, go.
Just analyzing the motions. So
Wait, like, has 2 motions? How are we doing this shit?
this yeah. So but in order to do this stuff, we have to know this stuff in the class test as well.
Flexion. Flexion.
I had the door prop.
When you're bringing the flexor muscles, pulling
Yeah, so
the
your
hip
flex is
into
the
the
word.
flex position, and then when you need to stop at a certain point,
As your
extensors
extensors are
is
pulling
when you
down.
slow it down, and then you start extending the stomp on the spider. That's when your hip extensors pulling
And your
the leg down, and
flexors
then the
are
flexors are going to pull up and slow it
to
down.
slow it down. Okay, well, don't you have to know, like, the eccentric and concentric?
Yeah, so the concentric, whenever the knee's coming up, is
That's
hip
concentric.
flexors, and then the extensors,
This one's going down.
eccentric.
Okay,
And
yeah.
then whenever it's coming down,
When
the
there
opposite.
isn't a pause, so, like, isometric work.
Yeah, if there's a pause, yeah.
I mean, there always has to be a slight,
Yeah, I guess so.
yeah.
He's over here.
Guys, once again, you are free to move. If it helps you, you're free to stand up and just kind of visualize or anything if it helps you. It doesn't mean I'm making it up, but just know that you're welcome to.
That's all I do.
Okie dokie, schmokey. Speeding up the hip flexion. Who did it? Hip flexors. How did they do it? Eccentric?
The brake to slow it down.
Well, speeding up the flexion. Right? So I gotta prep it before I can smash it. Right? No, it's all good. It's just making sure we're talking about the same thing. So in other words, you're right at the phase that you're in. So it's just communicating what phase we're at, so that way we all are on the same page. So speeding up the flexion. I know this is a silly analogy, but you know, if a boxer's gonna throw a punch, he has to prep it before he actions it, right? So if I'm gonna smash that spider, I need to prep it before I can action. Okay? So the prepping part, I gotta speed up the flexion, hip flexors, concentric work, shortening while trying to shorten above resting tone. Nothing's trying to flex my hip. I gotta make it happen. There's no external force trying to bring my hip up. So I have to speed it up through concentric work. Does it make sense that I do not want to have a constant velocity? This isn't like doing curls. I'm trying to get as much speed as I can to slow it down and change its direction as fast as I can. I don't want to be like speed up and so there is going to be no constant phase. I'm going to go straight from putting on the gas to slamming on the brake. Who slowed down my hip flexion? Hip extensors. And the only way the hip extensors could put on the brakes of hip flexion is through eccentric work. Absolutely. And those muscles are going to continue to get the call to do a job, because after they slow down the up, they got to immediately speed up the down. So they're going to stay on, change their contraction type or their contraction work, and go from eccentric slowdown to concentric speed up. That should automatically ring something in your bell and be like, whoa, that was a sequence. That was a plyometric sequence. 2 jobs back to back, where it slowed down motion one way and then sped up motion the other way. Speeding up the extension, extensors, concentric work. And what about when I put on the brake? Who slowed down my extension? Flexors through eccentric work. It's got to be. Now, did the flexors, here's your default question of the day. Did the flexors experience a plyometric sequence? Give it some thought. In that example, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. Did the flexors experience a plyometric sequence? Answer choice A is yes. Answer choice B is no. Answer choice C is maybe yes. Answer choice D is maybe no. Answer choice D is none of these. Survey says no. Because even though you had concentric in one area and eccentric in the other, it wasn't done in sequence. It wasn't done back to back. Now, if I was just like, oh, I'll kill you, I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I keep doing that, right? I want to kill you, but I love life, and I just went back. Then I would have a plyometric sequence of slowing down as we go. But if all I did was slow it down and put on the brake, and then that's it, there was no follow-up of speeding up through concentric work. So in that example, the only plyometric sequence was done by my extensors. Yes? Okay. How about one more example? We'll try to do a few if we can. Oh, we got time. I mentioned this, punters, right? So the Saints have a pretty good punter. And he's actually a really, really nice dude, man. He does a lot of charity work. And so when Thomas kicks the ball, he's trying to, in terms of his action phase, he's trying to speed up his hip flexion to eventually speed up his hip extension. But before he can speed up, meaning that, think of it like this. In wrestling, all right, or wrestling, not like we're wrestling. When a wrestler runs into the ropes, like takes a full head of steam in the ropes stretch more and then slings him back the other way faster. Does that make sense? Like, he uses, in his physics terms, stored elastic potential energy. But we know that that stored elastic potential energy is only there for a little bit if you want to tap into it. You know this from like playing with silly putty and like stretchy things. When you stretch it, after a few seconds, it starts to snap down. Okay? Muscles are very similar to those ropes, meaning that if he extends his hip very fast, he's going to tap into the stretchy ring rope particles of the muscles, the elastic properties of the muscles. And then it can help slow him down and then slingshot him back the other way. The question, though, is this. If Thomas is about to punt, he's going to slow down, he's going to speed up the extension, slow down the extension. What speeds up must slow down. Speed up the extension, slow down the extension, speed up the flexion, and then slow down the flexion. And there's knee stuff as well, but we analyze motion joint by joint, the same thing with muscles. Now the question is that you can imagine what area is a kicker most likely to pull a muscle? And you think about when they kick, boom, usually it's in the back, right? You can imagine someone kicking the ball as hard as they can and reaching towards the back. And the back muscles pull in the direction of what? Extension. So who's slowing down the flexion after they kick? The extensions. Through eccentric work being pulled apart. Doesn't it make sense that ropes fray when they're being pulled apart? So slowing down that flexion with those extensors put a lot of stress on those extensors. They're serving as brakes. And like I said last class, you never change out your accelerator. You always have to change out your brakes because the brakes is where the damage comes from. You have all kinds of road to speed up, but you have a very short road to slow down. That puts a lot of force into that small range of motion. Okay? Let's see. Let's do a different one. Let's do upper extreme. Watch this. Hey guys, stop. Hammer time. Oh my God, whoa, yeah, there you go. Whoa, what's that? That's not good. Okay, I hope that's just for show. All right. They were just playing. It was just play. They really nailed that scene. All right, stop. Okay, guys, hammer time. So, again, let's put it in the perspective of a carpenter who has to nail in a nail, right? So let's infer that the motion they're going to do, this is just for show. I mean, I know there's different techniques to do it. But let's say for this example, the carpenter is just going to show off and just use the elbow motion to create kinetic energy to smash the head of the hammer to the head of the nail, okay? Here's a question. Gravity is also trying to extend the elbow, right? We all agree that it's going to take elbow extension to create the collision with the hammer and the nail, right? Okay? So extension is going to happen for the collision to happen. If he just relied on gravity, this is what he would get. And if he relied on his flexors to allow the extension, this is what he would get. It'd have to go slower in gravity, right? So it should be pretty obvious who's going to get a call to do a job. His elbow extensors. Who are those muscles? Who cares right now? And I know you guys have been around a lot. Heck, my dad knows what a tricep is. But again, what about the incodius muscle, right? So if you only say tricep, you forget who else is there helping. If you only say bicep, by default, you forget who was there to help. It's like when they talk about Tom Brady, it makes me sick. Yes, he's handsome and he's rich and he's great, but it just makes me sick. Tom Brady won all these Super Bowls. Who else was on the team to give him some help, right? I'm not saying he wasn't a prime mover. I'm not saying he's not an important muscle. I'm not disrespecting the bicep, but I'm saying the bicep has help. And if all we ever do is talk about Tom Brady, by default, all of the people that help get forgotten about. Except for Drew Brees. We can talk about Drew Brees all you want. So, I need elbow extensors through concentric work, right? Speeding up the extension faster than what gravity can offer. Now, if my hammer actually collides with the nail and drives it in, or heck, even if it doesn't drive it in, I don't necessarily need my flexors to slow me down when something external slow me down, right? If I smack the desk slowed down my extension. But what if at the last second he realized that that nail is in the wrong place? Or it's the wrong kind of nail. He's working, he's tired, just kind of throwing things on. And at the last second he realizes, that's not the nail I want to hit. And he stops the extension before impact. Who got the call? The flexors. And once they got the call, how did they do the task? How were they able to slow down the extension in such a small amount of time? Through eccentric work. Guys, that's how muscles work, man. And you'd be surprised how many people don't understand it. And it's not their fault. They just haven't had it really explained that way. But that's how it's a limitation of things that can only pull. If muscles could pull and push, ladies and gentlemen, we'd only need half of those muscles we have in our body. If my flexors could push and pull, I wouldn't need my extensors. But they can't. They can only pull. So I need sets in every direction of motion. Speed me up sometimes, to slow me down sometimes, to work with no motion to keep me in a position that you can pay attention. Right? They're doing jobs. We have muscles to do jobs. And how do we get them to do a job? We give them a call. We innervate them. We zap them with electricity. Oh, sorry. Okay. Any questions? All right, y'all have a blessed weekend. Y'all stay